Hi everyone, sorry, apologies for the quality of the video, but I take comfort in knowing you're not here for the video, if you're here at all. So, um, yeah, the topic I wanted to touch on today is one that sort of comes up in my mind. It's been bothering me for a while, due to the situations that occurred in the capital of the U.S. And the kind of people that showed up for the attack on the Capitol building, and how they ended up coming there from all over the U.S., spread out across seemingly almost every community, just a few people here and there, and why that's significant. Few people meaning, a few members of a community and the communities, spread right across the U.S. These people were very, very specific people, and Donald Trump had catered to those people. And, some people call it the QAnon conspiracy people. How is it that this came about? I think one of the things you have to consider is the power of the internet as it stands now. The communities that are out there, most of them benign, are pretty strong. I was for quite some time there a member of a community of people who were interested in motorcycles, very specific motorcycles that have long since been out of production. In the 70s, Kawasaki two-strokes. So in order to keep those machines on the road and to share information and parts and all this, everything about them, there was a community developed in Canada that was fairly strong and actually subscribed to by people around the world. And lots of information flowed, and personal relationships developed that people met finally online, and it was actually a really, and still is, a strong community of like-minded people, and they support each other even in times of trouble for each other personally. So it's very, very strong thing, and it's only happened in the last little while. People are able to sort themselves and will voluntarily sort themselves in areas of interest, and depending on the area of interest, if it's just motorcycles, it's usually casual. But if it's something like a conspiracy theory, then it becomes tied up in stronger emotion. And I would imagine there's a large number of people out there who probably value their online community almost more than their own families. And it's scary. When you look at something like the group that was associated with Alex Jones and InfoWars, I don't know how much you might know about this man, but he started out many years ago with a radio show and ended up getting booted off that because he just went too far. And he found an opening place in the internet, where there were no rules, and developed a massive following and turned it into a money-making proposition for himself. He started out as kind of a comedian, like a joker. He knew Joe Rogan and all these other comedians, and they kind of worked together and made fun of politicians and stuff, and he just kept taking it farther and farther and farther. He ended up getting sued by the families of the children who were killed, and I'm trying to remember now which incident it was, but it was a school shooting. And he extended the theory that, this was a setup, that these were actors, and it was an attempt to take guns away from people in the U.S. And it was sickening, actually, because he personally attacked people, the individuals who came out on camera to protest against people who would push for more firearms to be available. And anyway, it was a very specific scenario, and he got sued and taken down to a large extent. But that community of millions of people across the U.S. who and still watch InfoWars online. They're not on YouTube anymore, but not on a lot of other platforms anymore, but still available. Became powerful, became a dedicated group of people who believed in these conspiracies. And, there is a reasoning behind human nature and the willingness to believe these things. It's driven apparently by, and it makes sense, by the evolutionary pressure to be thinking about that noise in the bushes as a danger and of seeking a pattern-seeking ability to determine what is dangerous, what isn't, and to assign agency to things like, a noise in the bushes, and it is it would be a lion. It's a danger to you, or it would be something that could possibly hurt you. So, if you want to follow that, you can. There's a lot of information on conspiracy theories and their psychological and evolutionary roots. But in this case, I just want to point out that Trump was one of the only people, the only politician who, instead of running away from people like this who are a fringe group, but very loyal to each other and very engaged, he saw them as an opportunity to vulcanize a group of people who would be loyal to him. No politician gave them a time of day. They understood the dangers of catering to a group like this. There are other groups that Trump catered to as well, but fringe groups. But this one in particular showed up in the Capitol when Trump asked them to. And if you look at the crowd there, being from Seattle, California, you name it, all across the Midwest, there people flew into Washington, D.C. to be there because Trump asked them to. He went on the shows with InfoWars and Alex Jones and dropped hints about QAnon and kind of sprinkled a few crumbs for them to think that he was actually aware of all these crazy conspiracies and working with them to get rid of the people in Washington who were killing babies or whatever, all of these crazy conspiracies that are propagated on InfoWars through QAnon, which is another conspiracy theory concept. And they were serious about it. And so, as could be seen by the fact that people, went to the Capitol, spent their money, and took their time and did what he asked them to do. So, that is a game changer. That is something that, the box has been opened and the whole thing has jumped out at us, and we need to sort of deal with it in some way, shape, or form. Censorship is obviously a concern for everybody. Trump got deplatformed because he was using these platforms to spread information for these people and try and get them to do what he wanted them to do. And it's a tough one. I don't know. These are private companies and algorithms that also help to produce these people on YouTube. When you start looking through it, or Facebook, you can end up in a little universe of reinforcing ideas. So these things are major concern. It hasn't, fortunately, I don't know why in Canada we are kind of maybe there's just not enough of us to create that the numbers needed to have a self-regenerating conspiracy nut type of segment of society. That's probably part of it. It's just not enough of us. But we have to remain vigilant on these things. And the algorithms of Facebook that take all the people with a certain political point of view and just turn you back into other sources of information that reinforce that point of view, because the longer you stay on their platform, the more money they can make. And they don't really care what it takes to put you back into their platform. They've got the algorithm set up. And they know what attracts people with a certain point of view, and they just want to keep you on there. And they don't really. It's for money, and it has a major negative impact on society. So how we manage that? It's just emerged. It's difficult. There's freedom of information. It's been written for newspapers that's being used in this online world that is completely different. So we have to, I guess, develop some kind of regulatory institutions to manage this for the betterment of society and not allow things to get out of control, because it's seemingly doing that right now. I think everyone knows someone who is dove deep into the pool of misinformation and never seems to come out of it. Doesn't see the world the way reality actually is. I'm hoping my view is reasonably close to reality, but everyone's susceptible. Anyway, so I guess this is more of maybe an informational session, but have a look at some of the information. I know there was a special documentary from Frontline on Trump's insurrection, which was talked about how his guy Roger Stone, who was one of his political operatives, reached out to Alex Jones, and then Donald Trump started to go to the phone-in show for Alex Jones, and it just energized those people. You can imagine they're pariahs, everyone's crazy uncle who believes in crazy stuff. All of a sudden, the president's talking to his group, so it created millions of loyal followers. And that's potentially a dangerous trend. Anyway, curious about your observations on this thing and these ideas, and how do we manage this? How do we go forward in this new world? Ideas on that. That'd be interesting. Thank you. Talk to you later.